a prestigious high school that is really hard to get into. The tuition there is really expensive, too. People often say, you need to be both smart and rich to be admitted into this high school. Each year, the school gives scholarships to 50 students. These students are picked based on their academic or athletic achievements. I'm on the swimming team, but unfortunately, I don't have a scholarship. My dad pays a small fortune to the school. My best friends Jasmine and Emily are also on the team. Swimming requires discipline. We need to train regularly. And so we spend most of our days together. As if that weren't enough, we also love having slumber parties whenever we can. Emily doesn't have her own room, so we have them at either my place or Jasmine's. By the way, Emily gets financial aid. Unfortunately, her family is not doing so well. Of course, this doesn't stop us from being good friends, but I can feel that Emily is not too happy about not being able to host a party at her house. We were at my place when it all started. My parents had gone to our summer home, so we had the whole house to ourselves. We had so much fun doing the silliest things all night. We sat around in my room and talked until really late. Then Jasmine went to sleep in the living room, and Emily and I slept in my room. In the morning, I went into my bathroom. I put on my contact lenses. The night before, I'd put my ring right next to the lenses, but I realized it wasn't there anymore. I was sure I put it there. I looked around, but I couldn't find it. I was really upset because my mother had her own jeweler make this ring for my 15th birthday. I'm sure it's very expensive, but I didn't care about the money. It had huge sentimental value to me. I got dressed and went downstairs. Jasmine and Emily were making breakfast. I was just about to say that I couldn't find my ring, but I stopped. Emily slept in my room that night. In the morning, she used the bathroom before me. Emily is my best friend. It would never occur to me to suspect her. But if I said something, she might have misunderstood. That's why I didn't say anything. About 2 weeks later, we were at Jasmine's. Jasmine's family is one of the richest in the country. They have a gigantic house. Imagine, you have to call someone if you want coffee. A maid in a uniform brings it, like in the movies. As usual, we were having so much fun. We were laughing the whole time. At some point, Jasmine's mom came. Honey, Elsa is going into labor. Do you want to go to the hospital with your dad? She said. Elsa was Jasmine's dog, and she'd been at the animal hospital for some time waiting to deliver her babies. Jasmine was so excited. She said, you guys should go to bed. I don't know when I'll be back, and left. It was too early to go to bed, and luckily, we didn't have to train the next day. We decided to watch a show in bed. We needed a laptop for that. We began looking for Jasmine's laptop. This room is bigger than our apartment. I wonder where it could be, Emily was saying. I told her, you take a look around. I'll be back, and went to the bathroom.
Oh.
When I came back, Emily had found the laptop. We watched for a bit, but got bored. Elsa had the puppies. Jasmine sent us pictures of them. They were so incredibly cute. We hung out some more. I have a headache. I'd better go to sleep, Emily said. She went to sleep in another room, and I waited for Jasmine. The next day, my mom and I were supposed to go shopping. She sent the driver for me super early. I had to wake Emily up. We dropped her off at home. Then I went to meet up with my mom. We shopped until 2 or 3 p.m. I was feeling so sleepy. When we got home, I wanted to lie down for a bit and immediately dozed off. When I woke up, I saw there was a text from Jasmine. I want to talk to you about something, she wrote. I was surprised that she had sent it only to me. I was curious and called her right away. You can't repeat what I'm about to tell you to anyone, Jasmine started. And the things she told me made my jaw drop. Lately, I seem to be missing some things from my house every time we have a slumber party. What kind of things? I asked. First, I lost one of my pearl earrings. Then a ring. Last night, my favorite bracelet was gone. Unfortunately, I think it could be Emily. In fact, I'm pretty sure it's her. I just wanted to check if you've lost anything recently so that I can be 100% sure it's her. I couldn't believe my ears. I was feeling dizzy. I was about to cry. I only lost a ring. I couldn't find it after the last slumber party at our place, I said. Is that it? Are you sure? Jasmine asked. Maybe other stuff as well, but I'm only aware of the ring, I said. I just remembered. I checked our chat group. Emily hadn't written anything, which was very unusual. Did you say anything to Emily? I asked Jasmine. I was so angry, but I held back. I only wrote, why? She didn't respond. I got even more angry. Don't you have anything to say? I asked. But that message wasn't delivered. Obviously, she'd blocked me. She must have panicked when she figured I was onto her. After hearing all this from Jasmine, I cried for a long time. Was Emily a thief? How was she going to face us? And how should I be treating her? As these horrible thoughts were going through my mind, my phone started ringing. It was Emily. I didn't pick up because I didn't know what to say. A few seconds later, she texted, "What's up, girl?" I couldn't believe that she was acting like nothing had happened. Didn't she know Jasmine was going to tell me everything? Suddenly, it hit me. If Emily stole from us, she wouldn't be calling me. Could Jasmine be wrong? Maybe there was another explanation for everything, but I couldn't ask Emily, "Are you a thief?" If she were innocent, she would be so hurt to be blamed for this. As I was thinking, I had an idea. There was indeed a way to find out if she really was a thief. I hatched up a little plan and put it into action. I called Emily half an hour later. I talked to her as if nothing had happened. But Emily sounded really upset. I asked her what was wrong. She said she had a problem at home. "Do you want to come to my place? Elsa and her puppies have left the hospital. Jasmine is taking care of them. I'll have our driver pick you up. We can go to train together tomorrow morning," I said. Emily didn't want to come at first, but when I insisted, she said yes. If she could call me, it was obvious that she thought Jasmine didn't tell me anything. So I acted like I didn't know anything. We talked about this and that, nothing important. Thankfully, it wasn't a long night. We went to bed early since we had a train in the morning. I woke up way before Emily did. I had my alarm set. I got up. Earlier, I'd left one of my beautiful rings in the bathroom. I went in and checked. It was sitting right where I left it. I had also put a bracelet on the bedside table. It was also still there. You got my plan, right? I put my valuables in different places around the room before Emily came over. And then I made excuses to leave her alone in the room a few times. I woke up really early in the morning and checked all the jewelry I left around to test her. Everything was still there. If she'd wanted to steal, she could have. I was incredibly happy. I woke Emily up. "Girl, we need to go to Jasmine's. There's a misunderstanding that we need to fix," I said. Emily opened her eyes. "There is no misunderstanding. I will never talk to Jasmine again. She's out of my life," she said. What in the world was happening? How could Emily talk like this? I had to tell her everything since we had to clear her name, and I did. Emily listened silently. When I was finished, she was quiet for some time. Then without even looking at me, she said, "So you tested me." She was offended, and rightly so. I didn't know what to say. Emily turned to me and said, "Lucy, Jasmine is the one who stole your ring. She's a kleptomaniac." This was the first time I'd heard the word kleptomaniac. "Jasmine stole it? Why should she? What's a kleptomaniac?" I asked. Emily grabbed her phone. She Googled it. "Kleptomania is a psychological condition also known as impulsive stealing," she said. Then she read from a website. "Kleptomaniacs are impulsive. They are unable to resist the urge to steal. They don't actually need the things that they steal. They feel a sense of relief at the moment of stealing, but they deeply regret their actions afterwards." While still in shock, I asked, "How do you know Jasmine has a stealing disorder?" Emily began telling her story. "We were looking for Jasmine's laptop to watch shows that night when we were at her place. I found it when you were in the bathroom. Do you remember?" I nodded yes. Emily went on. "I was just about to log into Netflix when something caught my eye on the tab that was open. It had something to do with me. I read it since I saw my name there. I even took a picture. Take a look." I took her phone. I zoomed in and read, "I can end my friendship with Emily because of her perfume. If you don't have any money, then don't use perfume. Thanks to her, I learned that cheap perfume smells like cat piss. The whole house stinks when she comes here. Even Elsa doesn't come into my room." I couldn't read the rest. I gave the phone back to her. Emily said, "This is an online diary site. This is Jasmine's diary. Unfortunately, she left her tab open. I saw it by accident. I wish I hadn't. I didn't like finding out that I smell like cat piss," Emily said. She was shaking with anger. She goes on to talk about how she's being treated for kleptomania. It turns out that they discovered she was a kleptomaniac when she was very young, but she was treated for it. Years later, when they found out she was stealing again, she went back to therapy. I was shaken by all of this. "I understand everything now, but what happened between you two?" I asked. I figured out Jasmine was lying to me when I listened to Emily's version. Emily was very upset, and she sent Jasmine the picture she took of her diary. Jasmine blocked her without answering, because she figured Emily knew about everything, including her kleptomania, which was also in that diary entry. The rest you already know. Jasmine called me up to hide what she had done and told me Emily was a thief. She must have thought I would cut all ties with Emily and never figure out that she was the real thief. Of course, the opposite happened. We stopped talking to Jasmine after that. When she saw me with Emily the next day, she realized that I knew. She turned around and ran. We are still in the same school and on the same team. We never talk to her, even though we see her all the time. She is too ashamed to look us in the eyes now.